Hi friends, welcome back to my channel. Today we're going to be making this water slide, textured decal, Game of Thrones cup. I had so much fun creating this and I hope that you guys enjoy the tutorial. Here we've got a 30-ounce skinny straight hog tumbler. I'm using 120 grit sanding block. I have some rubbing alcohol and a coffee filter. We're going to prep and sand this cup right now. But before we do that, a little best practice I want to share is I always put my lids in my bubble wrap and back in the box, and then I label my box for my customers. This just makes sure that I'm not losing any of lids, anything of that nature. From there, we're going to use our sanding block. It's 120 grit, like I said, and I'm going to remove all the protective film off of the tumbler itself. I do have a more in-depth tutorial if you want to dive a little deeper into why, how, and different ways that you can prep your cups. Once I'm done sanding, I'm going to simply use my coffee filter with rubbing alcohol, and I am going to wipe everything down. That way it is nice and clean and we can get ready to move on to our next step. Okay, now on to spray painting. So I am out in my garage, which is very well ventilated, but I am using a spray painting booth that my husband made for me. Now I'm showing you this part because, as you can see, the spray paint below came out really spotty and blotchy. That's because my spray paint cap got clogged. So I just switched them out, and as you can see, so much better. I am using Rust-Oleum Gloss Black. Truth be told, I would go with the matte versus the gloss just because sometimes this particular spray paint, the epoxy likes to repel. So if you don't have time to let it gas off, I would definitely go with the black matte versus the black gloss. But what you're going to want to do is you're going to want to spray from about a foot away. You're going to want to make sure that you have nice, even coverage. And as you can see, I'm doing this in short, quick bursts. This is going to help make sure that I don't get any drips and that I have a nice, even coverage all over the entire cup. So we have got a really, really beautiful base to work with because this is going to be part of the design. So making sure that that coverage is really, really nice and neat is going to be very, very important. And then once you're done spray painting, friends, you can go ahead and let it dry. I let this dry for about 24 hours, although you can take less than that. Now, moving into my next step, I'm going to make sure that I have all of my measurements ready to go. So I've got a little piece of paper, I've got a pencil, and I have my measuring tape. This is going to help us for when we go into printing the water slide and the decal. Now, because I'm going to be doing a half water slide and half decal, I want to make sure that my measurements are as even as humanly possible. For this particular cup, it was 9.5 inches long by 10 inches wide. So pretty easy from a math perspective to break that down in half so that we had nice, neat measurements. Okay, time to move on to design space. I have a Cricut, so I'm going to show you how I put this all together. The first thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to upload a new image. From here, I do have this image that my customer wants saved in my photos, so it makes it quick and easy to put in. Now, you're going to want to test this. Some images don't necessarily work well with removing the background. This was one of those. So I did not remove the background. I simply then went to my print and cut. I saved the image under my customer's name. That way it was quick and easy for me to go back and reference should I need to. And then from there we can get started with our measurements. As you can see, the picture itself is significantly smaller than what we need for our cup. So super important, this is where our measurements come in. So I'm going to do 5 inches wide by 9 point. I feel like I went a little bit higher than the 9.5 in the end, because I did have to remake this water slide. So I would recommend going back and doing about 9.65 or 9.75. That will be super, super helpful. Now we're going to use our dragon decal, which is going to go on the other side of the cup. Same process as before. I'm uploading this as I had the photo saved to my phone. And then we're just going to do this on the cut setting, and I'm going to label it for my customer, just like we did for the last image, which will make it, again, quick and easy to find should you need to find it. And then from there, we're going to go ahead and we're going to set those measurements. This one I did a little bit smaller from a width standpoint, just because I didn't want everything super, super close. But it turned out really, really good. I was really, really pleased with the outcome. And as you can see here, I'm just kind of going back and forth about my sizes. Not sure I'm committed just yet, but I did end up actually doing this, I believe I did it at about 7.95, somewhere in that realm. I just felt that once we got that decal, it just looked so much better at that side, which left a little bit on the top and a little bit on the bottom. From there, you're going to print and cut. So you can click make it, and you'll be good to go. Just follow the prompts on your Cricut. Silhouette may be a little bit different. I don't know, I've never used it before, but should be pretty close. All right, moving on to printing. I'm going to try my best to show you how this is done. I use an Epson inkjet printer. It's nothing fancy. It gets the job done. It's a great, great printer. I always like to clean my printing heads just to make sure that there's no weird, funky ink spots or anything like that. But I want to show you here, and I get a little out of frame, so you'll have to excuse me. But I want to show you the settings that I use. So on my printer, I am going to wait until media and quality pops up. Once that's popped up for me, I'm going to select that, and then I'm going to select photo high gloss paper. From there, once that's selected, I'm going to move the media quality all the way over to best, and this is just going to ensure that I am printing at the best possible quality that I possibly can. Now it's time to seal our water slide. So I'm going to use Rust-Oleum Clear Gloss Spray Paint, and I'm going to seal this 3 times. So I'm going to wait roughly about 20 to 30 minutes in between each coat, and then we're ready to move on to our next step. Now we're ready to get our water slide going. As you can see, I did take the time to do a cookie sheet, and I've got warm water here. Now, one thing that I would recommend, and again, this is part of why I had to go back and reprint this water slide, is I should have put my water slide face down. As you can see, it curled right away, which created some pretty gnarly cracks in the ink. Not something that I would ever provide to any one of my customers. But I didn't film the remake or reprint of this. So I'm going to go with what we've got. Now, to put the water slide, you're going to want to make sure that it's nice and wet, and your cup is also wet. This is going to allow you to move the water slide around if you need to, which is very, very helpful when you're positioning. Now, as you can see, what I'm doing is I am, these dang edges, this is a big part of why I did decide to go back and redo this. but you can see where the ink is lifting. Now, I put the water slide face down the second time, much better application when I put it over top my tumbler. And from there, you're just able to slide the backing right off. Half water slides are so easy to do, and they just open up just a whole new world of design for you when you're creating your tumblers. Now, once you have your water slide on your tumbler, it's going to be super important that you are doing everything you can to get the water from underneath out. Otherwise, you're going to have water bubbles that will show through when you epoxy. As you can see, what I'm doing here is I'm using a damp coffee filter. You can also use a paper towel. I'll switch over here in a minute to my silicone brush, which is just amazing when it comes to water slides. But this will ensure that there are no water bubbles, no air bubbles, anything like that, because you definitely don't want that showing through on your water slide. But to show you the time that I take to make sure that we're all good to go, I'm gonna just let this play through for you guys so that you can see that it really does take time. You want to go slow, and you definitely want to make sure that you've got all the water bubbles and creases out the best you can. Okay, now here I took out my cup edging tool. Don't do this part until your water slide is nice and dry. As you can see here, I went in right afterwards, so learn from my mistakes. Again, just another reason why I decided to redo this water slide altogether. I did use the cup edging tool once my second one was dried, and I got super clean edges, which just brought the whole look together. Okay, time for decal work. Now you can see my fingerprints all over this black glossy surface. So I whipped out my alcohol and a coffee filter. This isn't going to hurt the paint. It's just going to remove those fingerprints, which is super important, because if you miss this step or skip this step, those fingerprints are going to show through with your epoxy on the black base. So take your time, make sure that you wipe those off. All right, here is my silver textured vinyl decal. I am doing reverse weeding on the bottom because the bottom was very intricate, and you'll see some points where me and the tea were fighting, as well as where some of my paint pulled up. So great news is you guys are going to get to learn firsthand how to fix little hiccups like that may take place, so that you have an easier time. So here I am trying to decide if I liked the placement. I had already started, so I had to commit to the placement. Luckily, I couldn't have picked a better place, actually. Once I got the striping on, everything like that, any reservations that I had disappeared for sure. But this cup definitely gave me, or not the cup, sorry, this decal definitely gave me a run for my money. My vinyl was too sticky, so it lifted up my paint. So I had to go back in and fix those areas. But the great thing about black is that it is so forgiving, and so easy to fix that really you can't even tell that that hiccup was there. But what I'm doing is I'm using my tweezers. This way I can remove the lettering from the actual vinyl, or the negative space around the vinyl. And man, typically Tech Rec Crafts vinyl is super easy to weed, but this one, for whatever reason, was just really giving me a run for my money. My tea got attached, it got all wonky, but great news is at the end of the day, everything worked out just as it should. I was able to save the tea. I was able to get the line in the middle. And you're going to see how I do that here in just a sec. Super sorry that I went out of frame. I just was really trying to make sure that I didn't have to cut again if I didn't need to. So once I finally get the tea off the actual negative space of the vinyl, I noticed that it was like in half. So I had to use my tweezers so that I could very carefully pull the tea apart so that I had the perfect tea. It did take me a little bit, and then I had to use my fingers to finish it off. Anyways, learn from my mistakes. I think had I gone a little bit slower, it could have been avoided, or if I had had wax paper, something like that down so that I could have managed through placement first, that would have been helpful, but you live, you learn. And we got that tea on there. From here, I am just going to remove everything that's inside of the decals themselves and put the line that goes in between the top and the bottom wording on there. So I will let you all enjoy the music. Okay, now to fix where the paint lifted. So I'm just going to use some black acrylic paint, a really pointy paintbrush, and as you can see, I'm not even dumping the paint in like a little paint dish, anything like that. I am simply going in where the paint lifted up, and I am putting the black acrylic paint down, and then I'm going to let that dry from there. now that our acrylic paint is dry, we're gonna seal in this final work. Now, not necessary to seal in the water slide. However, I would rather be safe than sorry, so I literally sealed the entire cup. Another reason I sealed the entire cup is because the gloss black spray paint from Rust-Oleum, for whatever reason, sometimes likes to repel epoxy. By me sealing it and allowing it 24 hours to gas off, this prevents that from happening altogether. But we're going to go ahead and finish sealing the decal as well as the water slide. Okay, once we got everything sealed, this cup took 2 more coats of epoxy and it was done. Man, this cup was so much fun to make, and I hope you guys enjoyed watching it. Please don't forget to like and subscribe to our channel so you don't miss future tutorials, and leave any comments below. I'd love to hear what you guys think. Thanks again so much, and we'll see you on social.